So, hi, this is a sketchbook video where I'm going to be flipping through my sketchbook. I started keeping this at the beginning of the Adopted Soldier project, really to sort through my emotions and form an opinion on World War One, also to get into the mind of World War One soldiers and especially my own soldier, Edward Kiernan. So, yeah. This is an imagined landscape to represent the rosy outlook that people had on the war, on the onset of the war. This is a picture that I took of a park and river near Edward's house, and I was trying to imagine him playing there as a child. So this is tape, and it's to try and represent the anger and conflict, bloodshed that came over Europe during the war and that the soldiers must have experienced. And then afterwards, I read a quote on World War One, and it was nothing but clouds unchanged. But I thought for Ireland it would be more fitting to say nothing changed, because a sort of national amnesia came over the country, and though that conflict, the loss of many families and the loss of life and um, the shell shock of the soldiers was still there, but people tried to cover it up because of their contempt for everything British associated. This is another picture I took of Edward's house and just trying to imagine him. This was inspired by the hills of Kerry. Like, obviously there aren't that many hills on the front, but as this is like the home front and the conflict that went on there during the war, and again trying to make it pretty to represent what people at home might have thought of the war, maybe due to propaganda or whatever. This is a private being instructed by a higher up, and I drew this when I first read an account of a gas attack. It just sounds so horrific and I can barely begin to imagine it, but this is what happened when I did try to imagine it. Another account I read of a man who woke up in his trench completely surrounded by water, just the completely horrific conditions that they lived in. And this is the sort of take on propaganda posters, so smiling, rosy cheeks, bright colours. People might have thought that this was the reality, but it was really far from it. I found it hard to sort of think of Edward as a real and ordinary man when I only researched him really at the beginning as a World War One soldier, and just the World War One seems so alien from my life at the moment. I started looking at men when I saw them like in the supermarket or in town, and Edward must have been like just like those men, like so ordinary, and I can barely begin to imagine like the people that I see around me going to war, and it just must have been shocking for him as well. An imagined landscape of the war front, another imagined landscape, and here I try to show the attitude that Ireland had towards soldiers afterwards, because of their association with Britain, even though many Irish soldiers went to war thinking that they were fighting for Ireland. Here's another picture I took near Edward's house, again trying to imagine him as a child playing there, and then maybe after the war, or during the war. This is red marker. This is the poppy, the sign of World War One, and I just thought of lest we forget. But then I looked at the names of soldiers, British soldiers that died recently, and I think that war is so stupid, and I was kind of like angry when I did this, because I thought people are always saying lest we forget and all that, but they're still going to war and still causing conflict, and I think we need to learn from World War One and to stop war. This is an apple tree that was in Edward's back garden. I drew the apples with marker. His family sold apples in the 1940s, and I think he might have like played on this tree, or he might have eaten apples from it. He might have had good memories from it. But then after the war, this is red marker again. Was he thinking of that, or did he think of his memories and his happy times, or when you're in that sort of position where you're surrounded by such atrocities and death and like inhumanity, are you able to think of those, or is your whole mind just taken over by the war and the things that you're seeing? I can hardly imagine it. This concept was sort of taken by another artist, Osawa, sorry, Osawa Tsuyoshi, a Japanese artist. He took vegetables and formed them into the shape of guns again to sort of portray the stupidity of war. And just a portrait of a soldier. This is the first drawing I drew when I came back from the Somme, and this looks like my shadow, but I was also thinking of the fact that Edward was right under me. And I think the first time that I went to his grave is when I truly realised that he was a real person. He wasn't just some sort of character that I was researching. When I visited his grave, like, it all just became so real for me. Again, trying to envision him in his grave, but I know obviously he doesn't look like that now. This was a piece I did on soldiers that were shot at dawn. So instead of the target over the heart, I did the Irish flag, again because so many soldiers thought that they were going to war to fight for Ireland, but when they came back they were often seen as traitors. A sort of abstract portrait of of soldiers, like just in general, and I was trying to think what would they have felt like. I haven't finished this yet, but this is the rose that Jerry gave me at Edward's grave, and I wanted to draw it. And this is the final piece in my sketchbook so far. It's a figure in a trench in a fetal position, because I was just thinking, these soldiers, like, the trenches were so horrible, like, they were like almost as dangerous as the war itself, but when you go on a raid or you go over the top, like, the trench must have been so comforting in comparison. And for your safe place to be the trench, which is just horrible, I think that's quite sad. So that's all I have so far, but I plan to keep going. And next week I'll upload another video on another art project that I'm doing.